Hi there, and welcome to Our Valley, Our Vision, Stronger Together. We're glad you're here tuning into this presentation. This presentation was first given at a brainstorming workshop on March 12, 2024, but this is your opportunity to learn more about this process. So what is Our Valley, Our Vision, Stronger Together? Well, it's an opportunity to think about our past, where we've come in the past 100 years or 50 years, where we are today, and then to look forward and to think about what we'd like our future to be like as we change and grow in coming decades. So why do we do visioning and planning? Well, we like to explore the long-term consequences of the choices that we make now. It's really all about our kids and the impact of the choices that we make today on their lives. Also, we want to be proactive. Just as we plan for the future of our families, together we can plan for the future of our valley, of our community. And note that this process is being guided by a stakeholder committee, and the mayors of both Centerfield and Gunnison are a part of this leading effort. And it's a larger public stakeholder process as well. So we'll provide research and information to you, the public. We'll seek broad public input. We'll build vision directly from that feedback, and we'll be transparent throughout. So you see a connection between what people say at one meeting and what we bring back at future meetings. And we think that this process will build momentum for the implementation of what you'd like to see in the future. And the premise is this, that the public has a right to choose its future, and that public officials should serve that vision, and that the public will make good choices if presented with real options, especially options they help create. And this is also a scenarios process. We'll be exploring the choices we could make today and their long-term consequences, and we'll explore those in the form of scenarios. So we'll create a range of scenarios that capture various ideas from the public, and you'll be able to weigh in on parts of those scenarios that resonate with you. And we think this is a practical vision and process. The process identifies and honors and will address your values and big ideas or issues. It will yield a vision picture or map, a vision statement, and a set of guiding principles that will help you implement your vision. So the vision statement and principles will act as a guide for your future general planning, for downtown planning and growth, and for recreation and transportation plans. So it becomes a standard to weigh current decisions against, and all along the way, as the cities make decisions, they can say, are we becoming what we said we want to become? So this is the visioning process. We're in this phase now, brainstorming. So we'll work through a brainstorming workshop, a follow-up survey online. We'll then create a range of scenarios for people to evaluate. After evaluation of those scenarios, we'll move toward a vision and celebrate that vision and look toward implementation. So what is Our Valley, Our Vision? Well, we hope that you see it as your voice, your project, your vision. We're here to listen and learn from you. We as a community are all in this together, and as such, it's a legacy that we create for future generations. We know we're going to grow. We don't know how soon or how rapidly, but why not identify and realize our vision so we track toward a future that we want to track toward? So this is our study area. You can see Gunnison, Centerfield, and Axtell, and a little bit about what we're like today. In terms of population, our valley includes a population of almost 5,000 residents. You can see Sanpete County, about 28,000. And in terms of population, you can see that 67% includes people born since 1981, and that does include the population at the correctional facility. Households, we have about 1,100 households, about 3,300 people living in households, and about 1,600 living in group quarters, which includes correctional facilities and senior living facilities. Average household size, about 3. Median household income, about 70,000. About 91% of people own, 9% rent. Median home value, almost $280,000. Educational attainment, you see the spread, and I guess again this includes the correctional facility. And employment, you see the spread here, white collar, service, and blue collar. We have about 2,000 employees, about 128 businesses, and about 15% of people spend 7 or more hours commuting each week. Note that we also have growing regional employment sectors. We looked at some data for central and southwest part of our state, and you can see the top industries in that segment of our state is led by construction, followed by management of companies and enterprises. You see the list there. It's important to think, okay, where might that growth be expected, and which of these top sectors might make sense in Gunnison Valley? It's also helpful to think about our growing population in terms of what we might need. So you might start off life in a single family home. You might go away to college and live in a dorm. Maybe at some point you live in a townhouse or another rental type property. Maybe you have children. You have a small home. You have more children. Maybe you buy a larger home. And maybe as you age, you downsize. Not everybody goes through these life stages per se, but you might know people that have different housing needs over time. So it's important to think about what we need, what our kids will need in terms of housing. It's also important to think about water. We're going to need to plan very carefully for water in the future. And taxes. Lots of communities end up raising property taxes because their housing doesn't pay for itself. We want to make sure that we build in a pattern that allows us to maintain property taxes that are manageable. A piece of that is services and infrastructure. So the greater distance to a household means increased infrastructure costs and maintenance, especially for your cities over time. Those are passed on to you, property owners. Reduced distances to households mean decreased infrastructure costs. So something to balance as we think about the future. And then, of course, there's this premise that property owners possess a bundle of rights that run with the land. So while planning needs to preserve quality of life for everybody, it also needs to protect private property rights. So what does growth look like? It's helpful to look at long-term growth, say in a region. This is Draper, Utah in 1972. The red is irrigation from farms. So you see it's mostly red in 1972. And over time, that red gets replaced with pink, and that's suburban houses or lawns. And so in the time one child grows up, Draper completely transformed. Another place that has a strong agricultural base is Cache Valley. You see Logan here on the image on the left, the county as a whole. On the right, 1950s, development is in yellow. And you see that as time marches on, development just incrementally over time affects Logan especially, but the valley as a whole as well. So what does that look like in terms of our place? Gunnison, Centerfield, the land surrounding that. We currently have approximately 1,100 housing units. You see that represented here on the map in little yellow dots. It's existing. How could we grow over time? So let's ask ourselves this. What if all that is allowed to be built is built? So we looked at zoning, which basically said what's allowed to be built today. We looked at that map. And then we also looked at and identified undevelopable land. Undevelopable land are areas that are maybe state-owned, federally owned, areas that are already developed, main roads, wetlands, slopes over 25%. And that's basically on this map, all of the gray land. Note that the areas that aren't gray, but that are colored, are agricultural lands. So you can see the different crops that are grown and the acreages of farmland that are developable. So then we took, in order to do what we call a build-out scenario, we took your existing development and we placed housing then after that per your current zoning on developable land. And this is what that looks like, all the dots in pink. So you see existing housing and potential new housing if you were to build out per current zoning on developable land. So that means about 8,600 new units, almost 26,000 new people, an average lot size of about 2.5 acres, and about 21,000 acres developed. Will this happen? This would be a long-term scenario, I think, right? We're not growing that quickly, but we want to make sure, the point is really that we're growing in the pattern we would like over time, when or if that growth happens. So as growth happens, will we grow the way we want to? It's not really about how much we will grow or how soon. It's about the pattern of growth that we hope to encourage as growth comes. Because if you don't know where you're going, then any old road will do. We want to know what road we're on, what road we want to take. And there are some tensions or trade-offs to explore in this process. For instance, as you think about growth, there's a lot of farmers that think of their land as their retirement. They think of selling it and using those funds. That's fair. But there's also pressure and desire on the part of some for people to continue farming in this area. There's a desire to preserve agricultural land. There might also be a desire for large lot housing, which consumes agricultural land. There might be a wish for no growth, but also a wish for more shopping, dining, and jobs, which requires growth to happen. There might be a desire for more reasonably priced housing, but also a desire for larger lots, which actually cost more, especially in the long term when we think of infrastructure maintenance over time. There might be a desire for more recreational or community opportunities, but also a desire for less government or government programs. But it's government programs that often help provide recreational opportunity. There's a desire for both free market, but also a desire for proactive planning. There's a desire to preserve rural character. There's maybe also a desire to allow growth along county roads. What does that look like over time in terms of rural character if all those roads have houses along them? So there are tensions here that we can explore in this process and figure out, well, what's the right balance of these things for our community? So that's what we looked at the workshop on the 12th. We were looking at identifying general values and ideas about growth. We explored on maps where and how growth could unfold, looking at recreation, at transportation, at housing, and jobs. A part of that process also included a survey, and that survey is available to you online. So we hope that you take that survey and on the website and share your voice. And then also, if you would, share your email at the end of that survey so we can invite you to the open house where we'll be looking at a range of scenarios created by feedback from your public input. We thank you so much for your interest in this process. We hope that you tune in and stay involved. And we thank you too for caring so much for your community and your city and its future.